Okay, this video we're going to get started in Vcarve to create our street number. Vcarve Pro is probably a shortcut right on your desktop. If not, you can go down here and just type in Vcarve and it should pop right up. If you haven't launched the program before, you're going to need to put in a password. In order to do that, you'll get a message that's asking for a password. If you go to your File Explorer and you go to the Student Share, you can go to LOLHS and Dairy and Resources, and at the bottom there's a Vcarve code. When that comes up, you're just going to copy this into the username and copy this into the password, and you should be able to launch the program. Once you launch the program, we're going to create a new file and set up our parameters for our stock. So I've got mine set up already, and the height is going to be 5.5. Oops. And the width we're going to put in there at 9.5. Thickness is going to be 3/4. This is really important. The default is to put the Z in the upper lower left hand corner, which represents this red dot, and the X and Y coordinates are going to be in the lower left hand corner. On future projects we may move that position, but for now we're going to leave that right there. Going to hit OK and get started with our artwork. So we're going to use the ellipse command and draw a 5x7 ellipse. If I just click and drag, we can see the ellipse. If I come over here though, I can actually specify the dimensions. So I'm going to make it 9 by 5. Now I'd like that to be in the middle of my stock. I hit the close here. While it's selected, or if I've deselected it, I can reselect it. I can come over here and align it to the material. And if I click this button, it's going to put it right in the center of my stock. Hit close. I want to do an offset now because we're going to do a number of different operations here. Offset is going to take this geometry and either move a similar one to the outside or the inside. So I'm going to click. I have it selected. Again, if it's not selected, you can select it. Go to the offset command. I'm going to go 5/8 of an inch inwards. I believe the default is outward, so you want to click this radio button, select 5/8 of an inch, hit offset, and you should see another ellipse perfectly centered on the inside. Hit close. So I have my two ellipses right now. We're going to put our number in next, so you're going to grab the text tool and type in your street number. Now you can change the font. I like this font, so I'm going to go with this. I'm going to try it in bold this time and hit apply. Close that out. Once again, while it's selected, I can go to my alignment and go ahead and put it right in the center of my stock. Now that looks a little bit, maybe a tiny bit smaller than I want, so I can double click on that and grab the corners here and resize it, and then go back to my alignment tool and put it back in the center again. And I think that looks pretty good. Now you may have an address that has we're gonna transfer this information and do a plasma cut project as well, and some addresses are going to require an additional step, and I'll show you what that's going to look like in a little bit. Let's assume that you have an address that doesn't have a hole in the middle of it. In other words, you don't have a 6 or a 9 or a 0. We'll keep moving forward. So we now have our artwork, and we've got to start to apply some toolpaths to this. We're going to do a number of different toolpaths. We're going to do a Vcarve operation, a pocket operation, and we're also going to put a profile on the outside to clean it up, and we're going to add some tabs. So let's start with opening up this tab here and locking it out. We can get that tab to stay out by hitting this pin right here. Take a look at the number of different operations that we have. The first one I'm going to take on is a pocket toolpath. So if I select this option, I'm going to need to select a bit that I want to use for this pocket operation. I'm going to select this button and pick a straight 1/4 inch bit. It's going to take a little bit longer to do this, but it'll allow us to do the operation without changing bits. I'm going to hit OK. We now got to decide how deep it's going to cut and provide some other overlapping parameters. So in this case, I'm going to cut 0.2 to make sure that I'm deep enough. Actually, take that back. I'm going to cut 0.8 because the material that we're going to use is 1/16 of an inch thick for the aluminum that we're going to cut out and put on the top of that. So, excuse me, 0.08 is what I was looking for. All right, 0.08. Double check that to make sure you got that selected correctly. Take a look over here and see what the step over looks like. And the step over is how far the bit moves if you're doing a pocket operation each time. And right now my step over is only 40% of the bit. I think for what we're doing here and we're cutting plastic, we can up this considerably. So I'm going to go to 80%, which is 0.2. There'll be a small amount of overlap, and it's going to cut down the number of passes we make. And because we're cutting plastic, I think we can up this feed rate considerably. So I'm going to up it to 3 inches per second. Hit OK. So we've changed our feed rate, we changed our step over. We'll talk more about that as the year goes on. And down here we can name the toolpath. I think pocket toolpath is fine, but what I usually do is put the bit in there as well, just to remind me what bit size I chose for that operation. I'm going to go ahead and hit calculate. Oops, I need to select the vector first. This is where I want my pocket. Make sure you select this oval, not the outer one. Hit calculate, and you can see these blue lines represent the toolpath. If I hit preview and then rotate my part, you can see that I've cut a little dish out of this area. That's where we're going to put our aluminum plate that's going to go inside of our plastic piece. All right, I'm going to go back to our artwork here and close that out. The next operation we're going to do is we're going to cut out the we're going to do a Vcarve operation actually right in here. Cut out these letters. So we're going to go with a Vcarve operation. We can go with a 60-degree bit. We'll leave that selection alone. For our feed rates, let's take a look at what we have. 3 inches per second is fine. We'll hit OK. The only thing we're going to change here is we're going to change the start depth to be a little bit deeper because we're going to remove that material where the pocket's going to be. So we want it to go a little bit deeper than it normally would. So I'm going to say the same depth that our pocket was, which is 0.08. All right. Once again, we have to select our vectors. We don't want the oval selected. We want our text selected. If we hit calculate now, you can see the path that the bit's going to take. We can do another preview and see that we now have our letters cut out. Okay, moving on to the next operation. Actually, I'll save that next operation for a separate video. This would be a great time to save. So I'm going to go to File, go to Save, remind you that you have a folder in the tech drive. Under student folders, find your name and find your CNC folder, and we'll call it last name street number. And hit save. We'll continue this with another video.